Hello, everyone. Welcome to the COVID health event. We are so excited that you're here. My name is Dr. Kit Ford, founder of Argos House of Healing and Hope in Davenport, Iowa, and I will be your moderator today. So today, what is the goal for today? The COVID-19 vaccine. There have been so many questions around it. Is it safe, effective? Is it for me? Well, tonight our goal is to have a distinguished panel that will not necessarily, the goal isn't to lean you a certain way. The goal is to educate you on the COVID-19 vaccine so that you can make an informed decision. We had many different partners to help to move this important conversation forward. Those partners are the African American Leadership Society, Davenport NAACP branch, Rock Island County NAACP branch, Rock Island County Health Department, WVIK Quad Cities NPR, 90.3 FM, the Scott County Health Department, UnityPoint Health Trinity, as well as Genesis. And so many people thought this conversation was very important so that we can move things forward. So tonight we have a flow of events that will share and educate information on the COVID-19 vaccine, but also we'll have the opportunity for you to ask your questions. So we'll have intros, a panel discussion, an open question and answer session where you can submit your questions in the chat section to the right of the screen. And you can also submit those questions throughout the event, and we'll make sure that they get to our panels. So who are these distinguished guests today? We have three panelists who have been working very, very hard in the health and medical field for quite some time that will be sharing their perspectives and also their expertise tonight. So Dr. Alatade is the Chief Medical Officer for UnityPoint Health Trinity. In his role, he is responsible for the oversight of the hospitalist program, as well as provides leadership for UnityPoint Health, Trinity's care management program, medical director group, physician services department, medical staff office, clinical informatics department, quality and accreditation, and the infection control department. Dr. Alatade joined UnityPoint Health Trinity in 2011 as an internist before accepting a hospitalist role in 2013. Dr. Alatade became hospitalist medical director in 2014 and served as interim medical director for hospice and palliative care for the UnityPoint at Home from 2016 to 2018. Dr. Alatade is licensed to practice medicine in Iowa and Illinois and serves on a number of regional and system medical leadership committees, including the Medical Staff Performance Improvement Committee and the Regional Leadership Group of UnityPoint Health Accountable Care. Dr. Alatade received his medical degree with honors from Rostov State Medical University in Russia. I know we are all in cyberspace today, but let's give him a round of applause for being on the panel today. Welcome, welcome. And we're so glad you're here.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you. Right. So our next distinguished panelist is Roma Taylor. Roma Taylor is the Clinical Service Manager, Scott County Health Department. She has over 41 years of experience with the health department. Roma manages the communicable disease, immunization, STD, HIV, and childhood lead poisoning programs. She also oversees the child care nurse consultant and non-public schools nurse consultant programs and foodborne illness and rabies risk assessment programs. Roma has years of experience in outbreak management. She was the planner manager of the H1N1 Community Mass Vaccine Initiative in 2009 through 2010, as well as foodborne and other communicable disease outbreaks in the past. She co-chairs the Iowa HIV STD Community Planning Group and is a team member of the Iowa Ending the Epidemic Steering Committee. She also sits on multiple boards, committees throughout the community. Roma is a lifelong resident of the Quad Cities area, is married, has 2 sons, and 5 grandchildren. Roma, thank you so much for being here. Let's give her a round of applause, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Our next distinguished panelist, Dr. Wanakee Carr. Wanakee Carr, MD, was born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. She attended the University of Iowa for her undergraduate education, for which she graduated with a BS in biology in 2009. She then continued her education at the University of Iowa, where she obtained her doctorate in medicine in 2014. Dr. Carr completed her residency at the University of Kansas Medical Center in obstetrics and gynecology in 2018. She currently practices OBGYN with the Genesis Health Group in Bettendorf, Iowa, and community health clinics, Edgerton and Davenport, Iowa. Dr. Carr is currently serving on the Iowa Medical Society Task Force, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Dr. Carr, let's give her a round of applause. Welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Yeah, absolutely. Yay. We're so glad you're here. Okay. All right. So we're going to start the conversation with Roma Taylor, who helps and leads certain efforts with Scott County Health Department, as we said before. She is going to give us an update on where we are in our current numbers in both Illinois and Iowa. And she's also going to update on the tiering system and the vaccine rollout within the Quad Cities region. Welcome again, Roma, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to share a few statistics with you regarding what we're seeing in Rock Island and Scott counties. First of all, we'll talk about our statistics. So in Scott County, since the pandemic began back in almost a year now, in March of last year, Scott County, we had our first case. Actually, the person became infected on St. Patrick's Day. He was the first person to become infected in Scott County, and I interviewed him, and he had some idea of where and how he got infected. He was at a St. Patrick's Day celebration. So in Scott County, since March of last year, we have had 16,062 cases. We've had 173 deaths, which gives us a 7-day positivity rate of 11%. In Rock Island County, they've had 12,087 cases, 292 deaths, with a 6% 7-day positivity rate. Next slide, please. So vaccines, which are very, very important, and we've all been waiting on the vaccine. Vaccines first arrived in the Quad Cities around the end of December, which is about a month ago now. And so far, since the vaccine has been in both states, Scott County has given out 10,205 doses. Rock Island County has given out 6,300 doses. Now, these vaccines have not all been given by each of our health departments. We've been working with our partners, Genesis and UnityPoint and Community Healthcare, to make sure that we get these vaccines out into our community. And so we are working very hard to make sure that we get the vaccines out. If you want to know more about the statistics and find out the breakdown of statistics as far as male, female, and race, if you would go to each of our websites, we have much more information there. And I did want to share a little bit of information about the clinics that will be going on. In Rock Island County and in Scott County, we have started to vaccinate individuals 65 years of age and above. In Rock Island County, to register for those vaccines, if you go to the Rock Island County Health Department Facebook page or their link, you will be able to register. Their site goes live every Friday morning at 10 o'clock, and you'll be able to register. Also, you will be able to get vaccine at Hy-Vee, Walgreens, Jewel Osco, and Community Healthcare. Please keep in mind, just as Rock Island and as Scott County, the vaccine is coming into the community very slowly. And so some weeks, we may only get 500 doses of vaccine. So you will get your turn if you want to be vaccinated. In Scott County, each week, we hold our clinics. And if you go online to our website, there will be a link there where you can register for our clinics. And we're starting out, like I said, we started out with our healthcare workers on both sides of the river. Now, starting February 1st, we are moving to individuals that are 65 years of age and older. And we're also going to be doing our teachers, pre-K through 12. That's very important that we get our kids back in school. They need to be face-to-face with their teachers. We will be doing vaccines on individuals that live in congregate housing, like in Salvation Army, Humility of Mary, homeless shelters. We'll also be doing our fire, police, sheriff department. They'll all be getting vaccinated. Our pharmacies have been already working with our nursing homes. So a lot of those individuals have had their first doses and they're in the process of getting their second doses. But keep watching each of the agency's websites. We'll be releasing the information so that you will know when it's time for you to get your shot. Just please be patient with us.
Thank you, Roma. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for such helpful information. I know that's a question that so many have. When can we get it? Who has access? But as she said, the health department can help you understand these tiers more, and also this PowerPoint, or your PowerPoint, as well as this conversation will be recorded. So if there's any details that you need or desire to write down, you will have access to this information after the conversation ends. So thank you, Roma, for such helpful information. So Roma has talked about where we are with the vaccine rollout within the Quad Cities. But one of the goals for the conversation here is to educate on the trial of the vaccine, as well as what's in the vaccine, any side effects, and other things. So let's kind of start from the beginning. Can you all share a little bit about what work went into the vaccine trials and who were a part of that trial or those trials? Dr. Alatade?
Yes. So if I will take it from here, I said the vaccine trial for COVID-19. One of the unique things about it was the approach to the vaccine overall. In most cases, we do vaccines are usually created from weakened cells or weakened viruses or weakened germs, and then they're injected into us, weakened or live, and then we generate a response and an immune response to that. But in this case, it was the mRNA technology was used, and this technology has been around for many years, at least 10 to 15 years. It's been used in other parts of medicine to create some very good cancer drugs, for instance. So here we do have the mRNA vaccine technology, where we basically create a set of instructions for ourselves on how to generate an immune response against this vaccine. So there's no live germs, there's no weakened germs, there's no germ at all. It's just a set of instructions that will teach our cells to make the right antibodies to fight off this virus. So one of the groundbreaking events for this development had to do with the fact that the genetic profile of this virus, COVID-19 or the SARS-CoV-2, it was published about a year ago, and that gave a framework to basically look at the different parts of the virus, what really attacks our cells, and what is causing all the diseases. So it was determined that there was this protein, which is more like a hook. It's a spike protein, which was the most dangerous part of the virus that helps it to hook up to our cells. So the thought was, let's try to create a defense against this protein, and then the virus cannot affect us at all. So that's exactly what was done with this vaccine, to create a set of instructions for our bodies to make a set of antibodies, a defense against this protein, against this hook. So when you have that set up, and that means the virus cannot enter into your cells, it cannot do any damage, because you've already set up a wall against that hook with which it attacks us. So that's the nutshell of how this virus was created, and how we came up with that.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Alatati, with the vaccine, is it the protein that fights off the virus? What is it actually? What's in the vaccine that fights off COVID-19?
So the vaccine is it's an mRNA. So mRNA is what we normally use to create. There are a set of instructions for us to create different cells or to create different things in our body. So when you want to create a set of antibodies that to use to fight an infection, your body has some mRNA already to create those things. So what this vaccine does is that it has a prepared mRNA for us. So the mRNA, when it's injected into our system, teaches our own cells to begin to create a set of immune cells to fight off that protein. So your body creates the protein first, and then when the protein has been created, your body recognizes the protein as foreign, and then it begins to create that immune set of immune cells to fight off that protein that it created. So we're basically fooling our bodies to create the protein that the virus would otherwise have introduced into us. We are creating that protein, and then at the same time creating the mechanism to fight off the protein. So the body is doing two things: one, creating the protein, and then number two, generating the defense in terms of immune cells to fight off the protein.
Thank you for explaining the science behind the vaccine. The question, some people, there's kind of there's the unknown. This is something that's new. This just been rolled out, so people have concerns about side effects. So what are the side effects, and what side effects have you seen? Or have you all seen it? Either one of you can answer this question. What are the side effects, and what are some of the side effects that you've seen in the community with the vaccine?
I can talk about this a little bit. So the most common side effects that people experience after receiving the COVID vaccine, or almost any vaccine, is soreness in the arm or at the injection site. That's very common. Other more common side effects, either after the first or the second vet injection: soreness in the arm, possible swollen lymph nodes, mild low-grade fevers that last maybe 1 to 3 days max. Sometimes people are experiencing headache, mild nausea. I think it's important to know that these side effects are typically transient, as in they last for maybe 1 to 3 days max. Often can be treated with Tylenol or ibuprofen or other NSAIDs to kind of help with your symptom management. And I think it's also very important to understand that because it's a good thing for your body to be having some of these reactions. It means that your immune system has created this foreign protein, and your immune system has recognized it and is attacking that area and that protein, and is developing the antibodies for you to become immune. Not everybody will have a sore arm for days on end. Not everybody will have fevers. That does not necessarily mean that your immune response was not sufficient. And it's also want to make sure that people understand that you're not getting COVID-19, you're not having the virus, you're not receiving COVID-19 from the vaccine. Your body's only creating a very small portion of that protein, so that your body knows what to recognize if you actually come in contact with the virus at a later date.
Dr. Carr, are there also, I want to emphasize, if anyone who's watching has a question, please do put it in the chat, and we will make sure that our distinguished panel gets those questions answered for you. Dr. Carr, for some people, I know there are these side effects that you talk about. Are there sometimes, I know just speaking with my family and others, some people just have a fear that they'll have a reaction, or may not have had good experiences with vaccines or flu shots in the past, where they think they may be allergic, or they may have other conditions that may make them more susceptible to having a bad reaction to the vaccine. Is it a case case basis, or are these side effects in general, or should there be some concerns if people have had issues with flu shots and other things?
If you've had a prior a severe reaction to prior vaccine, whether it be the flu shot or a childhood vaccination, I recommend that before you go ahead and receive the vaccine, that you talk to your primary care doctor to see if there's something in the vaccine that may cause the same reaction. A lot of people who've had the flu vaccine or have potentially had a severe reaction aren't having severe reactions to this vaccine, and vice versa, due to the different components that are in the vaccine makeup. But definitely talk to your primary care doctor, and you may want to make sure that you receive the vaccine in a setting where you have a little bit longer monitoring time, so that we can monitor you for more severe adverse side effects like anaphylaxis or other severe reactions.
Okay, Nelson. Okay, thank you for that clarity. Now, someone has asked a question: if they did test positive for COVID in the past, actually, here's another question that has come up. Is it true that some people react worse if they have perhaps had COVID and didn't know it? I'll ask it again. Oh, did you hear it, Dr.?
Yes, another question. Really, what we have seen, and we've had a few of our colleagues who have had COVID and also received this vaccine. What we have seen is that the set of reaction has not been worse. Overall, even though when people get COVID, they develop some form of immunity for a few months, what we have seen is that when they receive this vaccine, the set of reactions they have or potentially could have has not been different at all. What we have seen is the same muscle aches is the number one thing that we've seen. We've seen it. Some people have talked about, they felt tired the day after, but afterwards they were okay. And so you see, we have not seen any worse reactions in people who have had COVID-19.
Okay. Now, when community members finally get access to the vaccine, are they able to choose between Mrna or Pfizer or the Pfizer vaccine?
Well, as a health department, we never know which vaccine that we're getting in. So far, we have only gotten Mrna vaccine in. We did get some Pfizer vaccine in, but we gave that vaccine to the hospital systems because the vaccine had to be stored at minus 80 degrees. And we did not have the ability to store it at that low temperature. So at most of our vaccine sites, we have been giving Mrna. So it's basically whatever vaccine that we have available or the doctor's office has available.
Now, Roma, I know that there have been talks about Mrna, Pfizer, and I know there have been talks about another vaccine that may not have to be stored at a certain temperature, may actually be able to have it longer. I think it was Johnson & Johnson. I'm not exactly sure, but is there, so right now it's Mrna, Pfizer. Are there other companies that are developing the vaccine as well?
I know that Johnson & Johnson is also in the process of developing a vaccine, but it has not been approved by FDA yet. And so it is not on the market. There is another vaccine from, I think it's AstraZeneca. I'm not sure the name of the company, but those two vaccines are not on the market yet.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of, maybe I think Dr. O explained it briefly when he was speaking, but how I know when research was being done and other things, they talked about that this has been one of the fastest vaccines to actually be made in such a quick period. Dr. O, how did scientists and medical professionals and companies make this vaccine so quickly?
Yes, I know that generally in the news, and this is the first kind of vaccine that has been made from mRNA vaccine, from the mRNA technology. So it's the technology that is the difference here.
I see.
And in the past, you would have to get mostly the virus or the germ. You try to isolate it and try to find how much you can weaken it. and test if you can help your body produce the response without causing a severe illness. And that portion takes a long time. So, but from this, what we basically jumped from skipping stage 1 and stage 2 and going almost right to the end of stage 2 and stage 3 because of the mRNA technology. Because with mRNA technology, we had identified what part of the virus was the critical component, which if we disable that part, then the virus has no effect on us. So that spike protein was identified. So, and then because we had the genetic makeup of the virus, we knew the sequence of the genes that virus needs to make that. So it was easy to simulate that in the lab. So we went straight to, well, we basically have a template. It's like having a template, and you're able to roll out the same copies of the same thing. So if you have a template for the central banks, when they have a template for how to make $10 notes, once they develop that template, you can begin to churn it out. So we have a template. It's basically a template that has been made, and then we begin to churn it out. And and the other piece of it is that it doesn't cause any disease. So that's a unique thing. Because it has it does not have the virus itself. It just has a piece of a protein of the virus. It helps you simulate the production of a piece of a protein of the virus. So it does not cause any disease. It does not go into your cells, into the nucleus of the cells at all, because it's mRNA. From mRNA, the next step is you make protein, and your body destroys the mRNA after it has made the protein it needs to make. So that's why it was. Yes, it sounded like warp speed. It's never been done. Yes, it's never been done, but it did not happen overnight. It's the result of work that has been in place for decades and decades. And thankfully, it's worked for COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. So much of the research had been done already. All right. So here's a question. Will the vaccine sites clinics have the ability to test patients for PEG allergies since there have been severe anaphylactic reactions? That's from Christy. Thank you, Christy, for your question.
We are not doing any testing at the vaccine sites. When we have individuals to fill out a questionnaire, we ask them, do they have any allergies to any medications or to anything at all? Have they ever had a reaction after receiving another vaccine? Or we ask, have you had a reaction to any injectable medication? Most people, they know if they're allergic to PEG already. And so because it is another things, so we do not ask that question. I mean, we do not do that testing.
Okay. All right, another question. What is the reason for not getting the COVID vaccine if you had any other immunization within the last 14 days? That's from Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer, for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. What I would say is that it's mainly anytime you receive a vaccine, your body is going into some reaction and overdrive and trying to do something, and you do not want your body to go into overdrive, getting a boost from one shot, and then bringing in the COVID-19, and then having the body go into overdrive, reacting to two different things about the same time. So, and out of abundance of caution, I would say, because we're still dealing with COVID-19 vaccine, we want to be able to identify whatever someone may be having a delayed reaction to a shot they got 2 weeks ago, within the past 2 weeks, and then they receive a COVID-19 shot, and then it's not clear what exactly they're reacting to. So I think it's important to be able to allow us. It helps us understand the COVID-19 vaccine better.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. O, and also caring for ourselves. Yep. Actually, Michelle, good question. That's what was the next question for Dr. Carr. Is the vaccine recommended for pregnant women? And that was if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, should you get the vaccine, Dr. Carr? What advice do you give to pregnant women or breastfeeding moms?
Absolutely. So the COVID vaccines, both the Pfizer and the Mrna vaccines, were not intentionally tested in pregnant or lactating or breastfeeding women when they were doing these initial phase 2, phase 3 trials. So because of that, we cannot say that we strongly recommend that, all pregnant women get the vaccine. But knowing how the mRNA vaccine works and understanding its physiologic process and how our immune system is going towards the arm, going towards that site, and how that mRNA is not entering in your bloodstream, and how that vaccine that was administered is not entering in your bloodstream. The American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology says that if you are in a category that is high risk outside of pregnancy, or if you are pregnant, we consider that you to be in a higher risk group for having adverse complications to the COVID-19 if you are sick with it. So we say we don't recommend against getting the vaccine. We actually say that talk to your OBGYN provider or a provider that you trust to discuss in those options to see if you want to get the vaccine or not. We definitely say that reproductive age women, lactating women, and pregnant women can get the vaccine and will likely not see any adverse effects. There have already been some animal studies, which is what in science and research, when we're initially testing medications, we often use animal models to test medications of all kinds to make sure that if they're causing problems in animals, we're not going to move forward, with testing in humans. They've already done both Pfizer and Mrna testing on animal models, and so far giving that the vaccines before the animals are going through the mating process, during their pregnancy, and watching both the female animals and the offspring. They have not seen any anomalies in the offspring. They have not seen any adverse effects with the pregnancies or any problems with the delivery processes for these animals. So at this time, the American College of OBGYN and most OBGYNs across the country recommend that if you are in a high-risk group, to go ahead to receive the vaccine. If you're a healthcare provider, if you are a nurse, or if you work in an environment where you're going to be seeing a lot of various different people, that we recommend that you go ahead and get that vaccine when that you hit that category. Furthermore, if you're breastfeeding, same thing. We don't anticipate that we're going to see any adverse effects to your child if you receive the vaccine. If anything, you're more likely to produce antibodies that you can then pass on through your breast milk to your young child to provide them with those antibodies, since right now children who would be of breastfeeding ages are not eligible to get the vaccine as well. So as a whole, we're recommending if you're in that category, go ahead and get that. Weigh those risk benefits of what would happen if you got COVID versus what would happen if you got the vaccine and were immune, because that's a huge thing. We know that pregnant women, when you compare symptomatic non-pregnant women with COVID to symptomatic pregnant women with COVID, increased risk of being in an ICU, increased risk of needing mechanical ventilation or being intubated or having a tube down your throat to help you breathe, higher risk of needing to be on ECMO, and higher risk of death. So we really recommend, just like we recommend the flu vaccine in pregnancy, that to weigh those risk benefits and get that vaccine if you're in a high risk category.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Carr. And Dr. Carr, has the vaccine impacted women differently in any way as it relates to the vaccine rollout?
Not to my knowledge. I don't believe that there have been, they did a good job of trying to get both males and females enrolled in the study at a fairly equal amount, a statistically equal amount. And I haven't, to my knowledge, don't know of any more like adverse events or problems in just the female population.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, I know one thing. Oh, here we go. Here's a question. Catherine asked, are the vax side effects, headache, muscle aches, worse after the second shot? Thank you. Thank you, Catherine, for your question.
Hey, I would say that there is a potential that it could be possibly worse. I would say on my own personal experience, it has been about the same. I have several colleagues and nurses at work who have received this vaccine. The second one is some of them probably causes a little more soreness in the muscle, and but it's a sign actually that your body is getting the boost it needs, is creating the right response to this vaccine, and it's creating the right antibodies. So it could be possibly more severe, but it's not significantly different than the first.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. O. Now, I know one thing Dr. Carr mentioned. Oh, well, okay. Randy has a question. I'll come back to that question I had. If your body creates a small portion of the protein, is that not getting a small amount of COVID? Small portion. Thank you, Randy, for your question.
So if I'll take that, Randy, it's so we have the virus itself, which is an organism, very tiny. Then we have parts of it, and parts of the virus, the protein that our body simulates, it's almost it's not from the virus itself. It's just something that we know the virus was going to make. So studies have shown that when that protein is created by us, by our own cells, what it does is that it just stimulates your body to create the defense against it, antibodies against that portion. That's why it doesn't cause any disease. It doesn't cause any illness. And I would say that I know at UnityPoint Health we've vaccinated at least 4,000, almost 5,000 people, and thankfully it has gone very well and overwhelmingly well. And Roma will say that about the public, about Genesis. Dr. Carr will say that, but it's a portion of it's a particle that the virus creates, and that we are basically creating on our own and then fighting against it right away. So I would not say that it is really the virus. It's not a major component of the virus. Yes, it is a protein that the virus creates to attack us.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I know one question one thing that Dr. Carr mentioned on, and it's been mentioned, was children. So is the vaccine safe for children? And if not, what's happening with the development of a vaccine for our children and grandchildren?
I guess I can speak on that a little bit. I believe is it the Pfizer vaccine, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Pfizer vaccine is for 16 and up, and the Mrna is 18 and up. And the reason why they have those guidelines, similar to what we know about the vaccines in pregnancy, lactating, breastfeeding moms, is they just didn't study those vaccines in those populations of that age group. So they can't say that the dosing that they have right now for adults is going to be safe for your 7-year-old, or if it's going to be safe for your 12-year-old. So they just can't say that yet. But I know that these vaccine companies are now doing trials with children at this point. And so I think at some point we will have a vaccine for these age groups. We just don't know exactly when that will be.
Okay. Thank you for that. I know that's affirming to hear for quite a bit of parents that worry about their children at school. So thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. Amber asks, if there's a bad reaction to the vaccine, is there a way to reverse that bad reaction? Thank you, Amber, for your question.
Yeah, so one of the measures we take when we set up a vaccine clinics is to set up kind of an adverse reaction kit, just to be able to be ready to administer should there be any adverse or serious adverse effects. And these are likely to occur within 15 to 30 minutes of the vaccination. So that's why we do monitor people, some for 15 minutes, others for half an hour, so that we can be able to administer the right remedy for any potential severe reaction.
Okay. Okay. Shannon asks, if communities of color are at greater risk of contracting and dying from COVID-19, why have they not been made priority group? Has the perceived hesitancy of Blacks to take the vaccine been used as a reason not to prioritize them? Thank you, Shannon, for your question. All right. Anyone?
I can start, and Roma and Dr. Carr can chime in. I would say that yes, we do. We have seen that COVID-19 has led to a relatively increased risk of dying in the African American population, and also in the Hispanic population, more than the Caucasian population. Now, I would say that is actually the reason I would advocate for more people of color to receive this vaccine whenever it's their turn to, or whenever the tier gets to them. I would say that just based on the risk of exposure and the risk of severe disease, the tiering strategy from the CDC, it was not based on the color of your skin or your race. It was based on the risk of exposure. That was number one. So that's why you're seeing that the healthcare professionals, where we started with those, and then when you're looking at the risk of exposure and also risk of severe disease, initially CDC started with age 75 and above. It's gone down to age 65 and above. Those are the ones that are more likely to have severe disease from COVID. So that those were the things that was the thought behind the prioritization for the vaccination rollout.
I guess maybe potentially to speak to that further is the reason why we're seeing, unfortunately, higher rates of COVID-19 infection in our communities, Black and Brown communities, or essentially that a lot of our people in our communities work in areas or have jobs that put them at higher risk for being infected with COVID-19, or potentially higher risk of exposure. And depending on the comorbidities that these people have, or that one may have, may also put them at higher risk for having more severe disease. The socioeconomic factors, systemic racism puts us at higher risk of being exposed and possibly acquiring the disease, and as well as potential access to care, to getting treated early, which are all factors that contribute to Black, Brown, and other underserved populations to having worse outcomes when they acquire COVID-19. And speaking to what Dr. O said, if this vaccine is available, if you fit one of these high-risk categories, I really recommend, that you look at the evidence and kind of decide for yourself if you feel comfortable getting the vaccine, because we want to help minimize death in our community and other communities as well.
Thank you. What category, Nicole? Thank you for your question. Nicole asked, what category are social workers in? And I think she's referring to the tiers. Roma, what category would social workers be in?
So social workers will be in, they'll be in tier, right now we're in 1B, and in 1B we have 4 different tiers. We have A, B, C, and D, and so they'll probably be in tier C.
Okay. All right, so those who work in the social work field would be in that tier. I know that people are just kind of on the edge of their seats. When will I be able to get my vaccine? And I know that varies depending on where you live. So, but thank you for that.
Yeah. What we try to look at also is, who are those individuals that are face-to-face with patients? And since COVID-19 has been in the United States, a lot of individuals are able to do telehealth, or they're able to do things virtually like we're doing tonight. And so, like some of our physicians, of course, they're not always able to do telehealth. They oftentimes have to be face-to-face with individuals, which puts them at a higher risk. Sometimes our social workers don't have to be face-to-face. Sometimes, and not always, I know, they can do things virtually. And so those that cannot do things virtually, then we do want to make sure that they get vaccinated. But they are, like, most of them are able to do work from home or virtually right now.
Okay. Yeah. So again, Roma, if anyone has questions about to find out when they're able to get their vaccine based on the tier, they can always go to the Scott County Health Department website or even give you a call. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
And we'll make sure to have that information on the site after we, finish the conversation. So thank you again for that question. So if someone says, I've already had COVID-19, do I still need to be vaccinated?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason being that we have with the duration of the effect of the immunity that you get from getting sick from COVID-19 seems to be, it's not indefinite. We're looking at 3 to 5 months, and that is why we do recommend those that have gotten COVID-19 virus infection, they should still receive the vaccine. Yes, they can defer for up to 90 days from the time they develop their symptoms, but they should get it because the immune response from the vaccine seems to last longer than what we see from getting sick from COVID.
Okay. Thank you for that. So yes. All right. So Mary Cripps Teague. Hi, Sister Mary. Sister Mary asked, are patients of chemotherapy able to take the vaccine?
Yes. And the answer is yes. I will just highlight again that there's no, the virus itself, whether dead or weakened, it's not been injected to the body. It is a set of instructions that we're receiving that is being administered to us. And with chemotherapy, the immune response may be a little bit blunt, may not be as robust as someone who is not receiving chemotherapy, but even a small response is better than none. It's also protective. So that's why it is those on chemotherapy should also receive the vaccine.
Okay. Thank you for that. And thank you, Sister Mary, for your question. So, the vaccine is being rolled out all around the country. People are asking, so when will this be over? Right? When will the vaccine is here? So how many people need to be vaccinated before we get rid of COVID-19? I see all of you all smiling. Tell me more. What's behind that smile? What are you thinking?
It's exciting to see that we have the vaccine. I think it helps. It's basically I would say the beginning of the end. It's not the end itself. So getting the vaccine, number 2, getting vaccinated. Number 3, the mass vaccination, more importantly, because we need about 70 to 80% of the population, at least 70% of the population to get vaccinated. And that's why we're looking at almost getting more than 250, 300 million Americans need to be vaccinated. And which is why it's exciting to see that there's more effort being put at getting the vaccines into arms and to ramp up the production and to get it to people, because until we get it, that's how we get to herd immunity, where even though some people may still fall sick from COVID, if they have not received the vaccine, or if they fall into the 4 to 5% that also fall sick even after the COVID vaccine, it's such that we would not be seeing such mass hospitalizations or ICU. We wouldn't be seeing deaths in the hundreds of thousands from COVID-19. Mm-hmm. So 70% of the population, I guess. And Roma, and can correct me, or Dr. Carr. Yeah.
Right. So Jennifer, thank you for that, Dr. Jennifer asks, is it true that anyone 65 or older can get vaccinated in any of the tiers within 1B?
Yes, that is true. We started out with our healthcare workers, and even though we've moved on to 65 and over, if there's a healthcare worker out there that didn't get vaccinated, they can always get vaccinated as long as we're having clinics. The same thing with people that are 65 and over. We have individuals that have said, I'm not sure if I want to do this right now. Okay, that's fine. The vaccine will always be available for them.
All right, good to hear. All right, everyone. All right, here's another question. Angela, thank you for your question. Is the COVID vaccine recommended for individuals with moderate iron deficiency anemia? Iron deficiency anemia, right? I'll repeat again. Is the COVID vaccine recommended for individuals with moderate iron deficiency anemia?
Yes, it is recommended. Yes. There's no iron deficiency anemia is not a contraindication to receiving the vaccine. So it's recommended. And I would add that overall this vaccine it's one of the exciting things that happened in 2020 in spite of all the chaos, and that's why we really want people to be able to make informed decision about whether or not to receive this vaccine. It's a vaccine that has been one of the most effective vaccines that I've heard about. It's oftentimes when we receive the flu shot, it's about 60% effective. This is a 94%, 95% effective. And it's also beautiful in that it doesn't cause disease. And with this technology, we can easily, I foresee a future of healthcare where we'll be able to make vaccines based on this technology and faster, more and more available for people. And so I think this vaccine is one of the ways, and probably in addition to the public health measures, which is really masking and hand hygiene and social distancing. These are the ways we get back to what we call some form of normalcy with a combination of the vaccine and the public health measures that we need to take. And I would say if you've gotten the vaccine or if you're yet to receive the vaccine, once you receive it, it doesn't mean that you should stop masking. You should still mask. You should still wash your hands and ensure social distancing as well.
Okay. All right. So Tammy asks, are you facing the challenge of running out of vaccine at this time?
I don't think that we're running out of vaccine. It's just that the vaccine is not being released fast enough for us to get it to the number of people that truly want it. And so they're trying to, at the pharmaceutical companies, they're trying to ramp up their production of the vaccine. They're trying to get the vaccine out to the states and out to the counties and cities as quick as they can. And so the quicker that they can get the vaccine to us, then we can get it in the arms of the community.
Okay, thank you for that. All right. Okay, Adrian asks, is the vaccine recommended for people that have lupus or any other autoimmune disease? Thank you, Adrian.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Carl, yeah, yes.
I was going to say that pretty much for any people who have autoimmune diseases or any kind of suppressed or immunosuppressed immune systems, it's probably a good idea, unless your doctor tells you otherwise, to go ahead and receive this vaccine to protect yourself, as you might be at a higher risk, depending on what type of autoimmune or immunosuppressed condition that you have. You might be at an increased risk of developing some of the more severe complications of COVID-19, whether that be blood clots, respiratory the COVID pneumonia that will lead you into the ICU. So you may be considered to be in one or more of those high risk categories, actually, that you may get the vaccine sooner than the general population with things such as lupus.
Okay, so even those with autoimmune diseases, you definitely still recommend the vaccine. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now, I do have a question. I know, Dr. O, we have a few minutes and we'll ask a final question pretty soon. But I know you recommended, Dr. O, that even when you get the vaccine, to still mask, to still wash hands, and still social distance. I've heard so many people say, once I get my vaccine, I'm going to see all of my family. We're going to have a great big party. Oh my goodness, I'm going to give everybody a hug. It's going to be fantastic. Which all of us want and desire, right? We miss that. This pandemic has caused us to not be able to do things and that we enjoy doing, especially with loved ones. So when we get the vaccine, why would we still have to do those three things that we've been encouraged to do with the washing of hands, the mask wearing, the social distancing?
Yeah, the main reason we have to keep on doing that is it goes back to the question of when will this be all over? As in, when we get 80% of Americans vaccinated, I think measures can be relaxed, because you do not know if you're in a small setting where everyone is vaccinated. Yes, you may be able to interact more, but it's not yet certain 100% that someone may still not be able to carry the carry the virus, even though they are vaccinated. So if you're immune, you don't fall sick from the virus, but there's still a potential that you're still carrying it in your nose, your nostrils, and you can still transmit it. So I know one of the,
wow.
and that is why we still need to ensure that we maintain these measures until an overwhelming majority of the country is vaccinated.
Okay, so we would be vaccinated, but we could still be carriers of the virus.
Exactly. You may not fall sick, but you may carry it.
I see. Okay. Now I know there was a question. I think it was Tanya I saw behind the scenes had asked a question about, once you get the vaccine, how long is the vaccine actually within your immune system? Like, how long are you vaccinated from COVID-19? Oh, actually, Diane is asking the same question. How long will the vaccine protect against COVID? Will we need another dose every year?
I can speak on that. Give Dr. O a break from talking. So right now, we don't know how long the immunity lasts, because they're still doing ongoing trials with the initial participants in the initial trials and the phase 2 and phase 3 trials who received, and are continuing doing antibody titers to see how long this immunity is going to last and be effective. So I know Mrna right now is looking at booster, if they are going to need booster vaccines, as we're having new variants of the COVID virus and the mutations. So we don't know if this is going to become like an annual vaccine, like we do influenza each year, or we don't know if this is going to be an every 1 year, every 2 year, every 3 year vaccine based on how long the immunity will last. Also, with all of the new kind of mutations that we're seeing kind of form, I think a lot of people have heard of the UK variant, the South African variants, the Brazilian variants. We probably have more, whether they're known. That may change if that mutates that spike protein to the point where we're having less of a good immune response to the current strains, and they may have to, tweak the vaccine from time to time to make it effective. So we're not quite sure how long the immunity is going to last from the current vaccines, but so far it's the best thing that we have to protect us in the long term right now.
Okay. So it's still the unknown. It's still being worked out. Yeah. Well, our time is close to an end. I wanted one of our final questions. If anyone has a burning question, please do send it in, and we'll make sure that we ask it. But I know, the goal for this panel and the conversation, and thank you all so much for your time and wisdom and knowledge. It's been so helpful. It was to educate the community so that our community members can make a educated and a knowledgeable decision on if they take the vaccine or not. But if someone is on the fence about getting the vaccine, if you were to say anything to them just from your perspective and social location, what would you say to those people who are on the fence?
So I get asked that question every day about should I get the vaccine, and just get lots of calls, and it really does have to be an individual choice.
Okay.
But I say to people, do your research. Go to those websites that are credible. Don't listen to what other people have to say. You have to do your own research, and you have to make the decision that's best for you, whether that be with your healthcare provider, or talking with another health person, reading the information, doing the research. You have to do what's best for you. It has to be an individual choice.
All right. Thank you, Roma. Dr. Carr?
Yeah, just echoing what Roma said is definitely, it has to be a personal decision. Talk with your provider. Don't just fall victim to clickbait or what looks kind of shiny on your Instagram, on your Facebook. Definitely make sure that you're doing your due diligence and talking and reading the appropriate articles, and not just kind of something that can steer you and mislead you in the wrong directions. I have women who call our office daily asking, should they get the vaccine? I'm pregnant. Should I get the vaccine? I'm attempting to conceive. I'm breastfeeding. And we give them the knowledge that, it hasn't been tested yet, like in our pregnant populations, like we would have liked it to have been done. But you have to make that personal decision for yourself. And if you're not going to get vaccinated when your kind of initial time arrives, make sure you're doing that social distancing, wearing your mask, washing your hands, not going into large gatherings, to make sure that you're keeping yourself and if you're pregnant, your unborn child safe as well, to make sure that you guys can, be healthy and be safe. So definitely make sure that you're talking to and getting credible information to make a tough decision.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So, having credible sources, watching this recording again, if need be, looking at credible resources and information, doing your research, making an appointment with your doctor to discuss. Dr. Alatade, how about you? What would you say to those who are on the fence and trying to make a decision?
I would echo what our panelists have shared. Do not take it because someone has told you to take it. You make sure that you make your own decision, and make sure it's informed. And it should not be based on coercion or because your friend is doing it. Yes, if your friend can help you think about it, but let it be a personal decision, and just weigh the pros, weigh the cons. And the way you do that right is really looking at getting to the source of truth. There may be some rumors around. Let those rumors help you do your own research to finding the truth. And I would say this COVID-19, this COVID vaccine, generally, it's how we get to herd immunity and overall how we end up winning this battle against COVID.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. So COVID-19 vaccine, is it safe, effective? Is it for me? We pray that this panel and this discussion helped you to get more information to make an informed decision. Thank you for audience for being on the call, for being present, for your very thoughtful and very intentional questions. Thank you, supporting partners. A big thank you to WVIK and Jared for hosting. Thank you for Daniel Joyner for doing all of the organizing behind the scenes. Daniel with UnityPoint Health Trinity, job well done. And thank you to the panelists, Roma, Dr. Alatade, and also Dr. Carr. Please, everyone, share the recording with those who you think may be interested, may need more information, or desire just to be more informed before they make their decision about the COVID-19 vaccine. Many blessings to you, and thank you again for your time.